Welcome to another reading of Lord Mayor, page 3043. The year is 1952. And the ch chapter that we're in the middle of is called 1952 Trip to the West. Originally named Mayor Center on the Lakes, the forest property had two freshwater lakes. The place was ideal from natural and spiritual standpoints as a retreat. After making all the required arrangements, Elizabeth and Narina invited Baba after several postponements. It was fixed that he would leave India in April 1952. At one point, Baba had instructed Don to cable whether April 10 suited them for his departure, as opposed to March 31. They cabled back. Baba asks whether the 10th of April suits us. Anything, everything suits us as long as he comes. After another postponement, Don cabled. Baba tells me to repeat and repeat that his coming is definite, not only because of the desire of the people in the West that he should come, but also because of what is destined by God. For years, Baba had hinted that his blood would be shed in America, and this was perhaps what he was referring to, although at that time no one could comprehend his meaning. Baba had sent Don to England at the end of March as his mother, would be Don's mother, was critically ill. When she passed away, Baba cabled Don that his love was with her. And the sidebar or the footnote says Donkin's mother, Phoebe, was the grand niece of Samuel Smiles, a Scottish author and political reformer. Don was then instructed to go to America on 1 April to help in preparing for Baba's arrival, with special instructions for Nerina and Elizabeth. At 11 p.m. on Friday, 18 April 1952, Baba, accompanied by Mera, Mani, Meru, Goher, Rano, and Kitty, flew from Bombay's Santa Cruz Airport via Trans World Airlines, TWA Flight 905. He had not journeyed to the West since going to Cannes in 1937, 15 long years ago. Dr. Deshmukh and his family, the Gadekars, and other close lovers saw Baba and the women off at the airport. Nearly 100 persons came and Baba was profusely garlanded. 2 days later, Adi Sr., Sarosh, Mayorji, Gustaji, and Nilu flew to New York also via TWA. On the plane, Gohar and Rano took seats facing Baba and Mera. Baba stretched out his legs on Rano's seat, causing her to sit in a cramped position. The stewardess appeared with a form to be completed, and as Rano wrote, Baba complained, "Why did you move?" Rano was embarrassed, especially in front of the stewardess, but this is probably what Baba intended. There were two children on the flight who would look at Baba and keep coming near him. They were irresistibly drawn to his caresses, much to the consternation of their mother, who apologized to Baba. On the morning of the 20th of April, Baba and the group landed at New York's Idlewild now known as JFK Airport, where Elizabeth, Margaret, Delia, Ruano, and Don met them. They stayed for the day at the Hotel Statler across the street from Penn Station. And the side note says the hotel is now known by its original name, Hotel Pennsylvania. Since it was a Sunday, most of the restaurants were closed, so they had to be content with going to an Indian restaurant, the Salon India Inn on West 49th Street. The footnote says the Ceylon India, now known as Bombay Masala Restaurant, was purportedly the oldest Indian restaurant in America. It has served as a veritable South Asian community center during the 1920s and 1930s. Its proprietor, K.Y. Kira, welcomed both Muslims and Hindus. Kira was a Buddhist and hosted annual celebrations of Lord Buddha's birthday at his restaurant. Goher was feeling indisposed, but Baba told her to try to eat something anyway. John Bass of New York met Baba for 5 minutes at this time. He later recalled, "I felt such great divinity in Baba's presence. I don't know how to describe it. It is something I have never felt before or afterwards. The feeling of Baba's terrific power and energy. At the same time, a certain peace permeated me, so that I remarked to Elizabeth, who was outside the room at the time, 'But, Elizabeth, Baba is tremendous, magnificent.' Elizabeth replied, 'Yes, Baba is what he is.' Baba and the women left New York by train from Penn Station at midnight for Florence, South Carolina, accompanied by Elizabeth, Margaret, Delia, and Ruano. Don was also with them. No one was supposed to see Baba off, but Phyllis Frederick and Adele Walken could not resist and had gone to the station and hidden behind some large pillars on the third floor balcony to catch a glimpse of him. Although they were far away, Baba smiled and waved at Phyllis and Adele, spelling on his board, Philadel, their new nickname. Reaching Florence on the morning of 21 April, Baba and the group left by car for Myrtle Beach. Narina was waiting for Baba at his house at the center. Because of recent heart trouble, she had been unable to travel to New York. Narina and Elizabeth had put their heart and soul into preparing everything on the center according to Baba's instructions. Baba acknowledged their deep devotion and service. Embracing Narina lovingly, he stated to the group, "I am quite pleased with everything you have done for me, with this house, the splendid view of the lake and ocean, the surroundings. It is all as I wanted it to be. I am so happy to be here, and most of all, I am deeply touched with the love and devotion shown by both Elizabeth and Narina throughout the past years in preparing such a unique spot for my work and comfort. No detail, no expense has been spared to carry out my wishes, and all as a labor of love, love direct from the heart. And as such, I accept the gift." Baba embraced Elizabeth and Nerina again and continued, I have had many homes this time. I have laid my head on the ground, in palaces, and on concrete floors of humble homes. Then, gesturing toward the center, he stated, but of all the homes I have visited, this is the home that I love the best because it was given to me and built for me with such love. After a pause, he added, I never leave.
Mhm.
Remember, I do not leave because this is my home. Mera, Mani, Meru, and Goher were accommodated in the guest house, and Ronald, Kitty, Margaret, and Delia in another cabin. Elizabeth and Nerina also stayed nearby at the log cabin. The next morning, Elizabeth gave Baba and the women a tour, driving them around the whole property. At the end of the tour, Baba remarked to her and Nerina, I am not only extremely happy, but also touched by your love, which has made you do all this for me. Baba and the women's food was cooked by Bessie Graham, with Ruano supervising. There was another black cook who would prepare food for the others. It was ironic that while the cooks enjoyed a hearty breakfast and lunch of eggs and fried chicken, the women had to be content with vegetarian fare, as per Baba's orders. For others, though, he stated, I allow vegetarians to follow their own diet and non vegetarians to eat meat. I do not interfere with any custom or religion. When faced with love for God, these matters have no value. Love for God is self denial, mental control, and ego annihilation. The five men Mondali arrived on 24 April, and though they were eating at restaurants outside, they too had orders to eat only vegetarian food. Gustaji was a long standing vegetarian with an insatiable penchant for ice cream, taking full of advantage of its ready availability in America. Gustaji was happy to have ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Baba usually rose at 5 a.m. and was driven to the guest house by Adi. After tea with the women, he would walk to the original kitchen to be with his lovers. Then, with the women, he would walk to the ocean or watch a few of them take boat rides on the lake. Rosalie, would you mind continuing, please?
Delia was afraid of going out in the boat and would nervously step into it. Her fidgety movements and loud fretting would rock the boat, which Baba enjoyed very much. Two other Black employees, Frank Tinks and George Frinks, worked on the Meher Baba property. And whenever Baba would pass them on one of his walks, he would stop to embrace them, shake their hands, or give them a pat. The previous year, Baba had written to Elizabeth and Norina, in order that the results of my work from October 16th, 1951 to February 16th, 1952 may be fully manifested in the Western world, either with the fullest success or as an utter failure. I must be in seclusion for the first 2 weeks of my stay in America. I therefore want no publicity of any kind, either when I leave or when I arrive in America. After these first 2 weeks of seclusion, I shall see everyone everywhere, because eventually I shall have to give to the world the results of my 4 months' work. Accordingly, Baba would sometimes sit in seclusion at the center for his work. Although he did not grant any individual interviews during the first 2 weeks of his stay, he did explain certain matters to his lovers. On Friday, 25th April 1952, Baba answered questions explaining various things, among them miracles. Why should we produce petty imitation illusions in the already created mighty infinite illusion? Unless absolutely necessary for the spiritual purpose of a general collective drawing of mankind towards self-realization, miracles performed unnaturally or supernaturally can interfere with God's ordained evolutionary process. Someone asked, what about healing? Real healing is spiritual healing, whereby the soul, becoming free from desires, doubts, and hallucinations, enjoys the eternal bliss of God. Untimely physical healing might retard the spiritual healing. If born willingly, physical and mental suffering can make one worthy of receiving spiritual healing. Consider mental and physical suffering as gifts from God, which, if accepted gracefully, lead to everlasting happiness. Someone else inquired, will you break your silence during this trip to the West, Baba? Baba replied, God has been everlastingly working in silence, unobserved, unheard, except by those who experience his infinite silence. If my silence cannot speak, of what avail would be speeches made by the tongue? The very moment when he thinks my speaking would be heard universally, God will make me break my silence. Most persons suffer because of their karma. A few suffer for others. Masters suffer for the whole universe. Baba ended by spelling out, God is not to be learned or studied or discussed or argued about. He is to be contemplated, felt, loved, and lived. When Jean Adriel had left California to visit Baba in India in 1948, care of the Ojai, California center called Meher Mount had fallen to Agnes Barron, 45. Margaret Krask visited Agnes during the summers and told her more about Baba. In the 6 years that Agnes had been living at Meher Mount, she had faced one difficulty after another in managing and holding on to the estate. Before Jean had departed, she had formed a new board, introducing a man onto it who offered to pay off the mortgage. Later, Agnes discovered that he had plans to build a hotel there and turn it into a psychic center. Agnes fought hard to keep the property for Baba and wrote to Baba describing the troublesome situation, stating, if you want Meher Mount, I will keep it for you through hellfire and damnation. Baba replied that she should keep it by all means, and he sent her his love. Meanwhile, a young, wealthy Britisher named John Cook intervened. He had met Baba years before in Europe and loved him. With his help, Agnes was able to overcome the horrible financial problems she faced and win control of the property from the unscrupulous developer. Footnote. Cook had offered his house to Baba in Algiers, which Baba considered staying in for a few weeks on his way to America in 1952. Baba had agreed to visit Meher Mount after staying at Myrtle Beach. He wished to meet with Agni, his Sanskrit nickname for Agnes, meaning fire, to discuss plans for his visit. Margaret had informed Agnes of Baba's arrival date in America. When Baba arrived, he instructed Margaret to cable Agnes to meet him in Myrtle Beach on 26 April. Meanwhile, Agnes had already left home and missed the telegram. But by a strange set of circumstances, she found herself much delayed. She thought she would be arriving late in Myrtle Beach on the 25th. Once there, no one seemed to know anything about a Meher Baba center. It was only by sheer chance that at the place where she was arranging to spend the night, the woman on duty said her husband was Mrs. Patterson's architect. Agnes got the telephone number for the center and called. Elizabeth answered and told Agnes she would pick her up the following morning. The next day, 26 April 1952, Agnes was taken to the center, where she learned from Margaret that despite not receiving Baba's telegram, she was not late, but right on time. After breakfast, she was shown to the lagoon cabin, the interview cabin, where Baba was already waiting. None of the men Mandali were inside. Agnes recounts her first moments with Baba. There are no words to describe it. It was so fantastic. All my doubts just flew out the window. The first thing Baba did was to open his arms and put my head on his shoulder. Something out of this world happens to you when Baba puts his arms around you. It's indescribable. What I saw sitting on the couch and what I felt was sitting on the couch were two different things. Without any more rationalizing, I accepted him 100%. Afterwards, I was consciously watching him to see if he was going to make any mistakes. But deep down, I had already accepted him. I realized later on, watching him over the years, that Baba practiced what all the great teachers preached. You must be one-pointed. Forget the past and the future and be concentrated in the present. I realized that Baba practiced that to the 100th degree. No matter what he was doing, whether he was patting a dog or giving spiritual advice or saving the universe, whatever he did with the same concentration. It was absolutely fantastic. When he was talking to you, you felt that same concentration. That to me was proof of his greatness, regardless of anything else. Margaret was called to act in to act as interpreter. Baba stated, "First of all, I want Agni to know that only Agni, God, and Baba know what she has gone through in these 6 years to hold Meher Mount for me." Agnes looked at him in surprise and said, "It was no trouble, Baba, no trouble at all." She had completely forgotten all her problems simply by being in his presence. She added, "Baba, do you know I almost got killed coming here?" Baba clapped his hands and gestured, "Wonderful, wonderful." Expecting commiseration, Agnes looked puzzled and then described the close brush with death she had experienced while driving across the country with another woman to Myrtle Beach in a bad rainstorm. Baba remarked, "When Maya does her worst, God has to do his best to work harder." The planned 10-day stay at Meher Mount was discussed in detail. Baba repeatedly told her, "Now do not go to any trouble." "Trouble," she said. "I've just been waiting all these years for you to come. Everything has been painted and scrubbed." "No, no," Baba continued. "I can sleep under the trees or on the floor. Do not go to any trouble." Agnes later recounted, "Baba's bigness is in his little humble gestures. That is what impressed me more than anything else. Time after time after time, I would see that. It just wins you over completely. He is so big that he dares to be small and comes down to our level." Don and Adi were called in, and Baba instructed them, "I want you to drive out ahead to California with Nilu, Gustaji, and Meherji to help Agnes prepare for my visit." "But Baba, it is already," Agnes said. "Everything has already been done." Nevertheless, Baba had his own reasons and stated that the Mandali were to drive straight there from Myrtle Beach, not stopping along the way, and await his arrival. He ordered Agnes to leave the following day and return to Meher Mount, which she did. Another arrival at the center was Darwin Shaw's 20-year-old son, Lowell. Baba wished to have him serve as his night watchman, so he had Mani telephone the Shaws in Schenectady, New York. Conveying Baba's wish, Lowell traveled all night from Schenectady to Myrtle Beach and also arrived on the 26th. While shaving the next morning in Frank Eaton's caretaker cabin, Lowell was tapped on the shoulder by someone. He turned around and looked straight into Baba's eyes. That night, he went to Baba's house to assume his duties. None of the Mandali were there, as they were staying in cabins on the center. Baba showed Lowell the buzzer and motioned for him to go into the bedroom across the hall and lie down. Lowell said, "But Baba, I am so tired from the journey, I will fall asleep. I won't hear the buzzer." Baba insisted, and Lowell left. But his prediction came true. Once he lay down, he fell fast asleep, and throughout the whole night did not hear Baba clapping for him to come. The next morning, Baba teased Lowell about falling asleep. He sent for Meherji and Sarosh and through them conveyed to Lowell. Night watch duty is not suitable for you. Go home and attend to your studies. If your parents insist, then come to Myrtle Beach with them. Footnote: Lowell Shaw did return with his parents and traveled with Baba in 1956 also. Darwin and Jean Shaw were happy that their son was called to serve Baba in this capacity. Lowell was also eager to be of service to Baba, but that duty was not possible for him to perform. This brief contact with Baba had a profound and wonderful effect on Lowell. His parents reported later that when he returned home, he appeared filled with Baba's love, which seemed to radiate so much from him that it was felt by their friends in Schenectady also. Lowell left Myrtle Beach with Rano and Agnes for New York on Sunday, 27 April. Rano was going to New York to visit her brother Cliff and his family, whom she had not seen in 16 years. Agnes was headed back to California. A young Black man working on the center was assigned night watch duty, but after one night, he said he would rather stay at home and do his regular duty, as he didn't want to be apart from his fiancée. So Nilu did the night watch duty, along with Meherji and Adi, who took turns at fixed times. While Baba was with the Mandali, he listened to Meherji read Gani's manuscript for God Speaks. In preparation for Ivy Deuce and Francis Brabazon's visit, Adi Sr. was told to read up on Sufism. On 6 May, Don, Adi Sr., and Sarosh went to Conway, where they obtained driving licenses. Delia was terrified of snakes, and the Myrtle Beach Center was full of them, some of which were poisonous. Being old acquaintances from London, one day Don played a trick on her. He had killed a small snake and coiling it in a circle, placed it on Delia's plate, covered with a white cloth. When Delia sat down for lunch and removed the cloth, she was horror-stricken by the sight that met her eyes, but everyone else was roaring with laughter. On another occasion, Kitty came across what she thought was a real snake and was beating it with a stick. After someone stopped her, it was found to be a fake rubber snake that someone had placed in her path to play a trick on her. Such was the humor of Meher Baba's disciples. The Meher Center had not yet been officially opened, as Elizabeth had reserved this for Baba. During his stay, Baba declared the center open on 9 May 1952, and from that day allowed some of his American lovers to come and meet him. Private and collective interviews were held in the lagoon cabin from 8 o'clock in the morning. Ivy Deuce and her daughter, Charmian, were among the first to meet him. With them was a particularly significant large fish from Australian waters named Bernard Francis Brabazon, 45. Francis Brabazon had been attempting to meet Baba for several years. As an artist, poet, and writer, Francis was spiritually inclined and had studied metaphysical literature. He had become attracted to the Persian Sufis and had found out about Sufism and Meher Baba through the Australian Sufi leader, Baron von Frankenberg. He had been sent by the Baron to San Francisco in September 1946 to accompany Murshida Rabia Martin to India to meet Meher Baba. But Rabia Martin fell seriously ill with cancer and could not travel to India prior to her death in 1947. Brabazan could not go alone, and he remained in America until the next appointed Sufi Murshida, Ivy Deuce, returned from meeting Baba in India during January 1948. Upon Ivy's return, she telephoned Francis in San Francisco and assured him that Meher Baba was indeed the Kutub of all Sufis. Brabazan was directed to return to Australia, work hard, save his money, and await Baba's call. Francis wrote a heart-filled letter to Baba that same year. In 1950, when von Frankenberg died, Francis was appointed head of the Australian Sufis by Ivy. Francis became quite respected in Australia and at one time sported a yellow robe and was referred to as a sheikh. He himself was building a house in Sydney for Baba on Beacon Hill. In 1952, Francis traveled from Australia to New York for Meher Baba's darshan, but had to remain there for weeks when Baba's visit was postponed. Ivy and Charmian were the first to see Baba at the center at 8 a.m. on the 9th. Both were in tears when they met him. Ivy described those moments. As soon as we arrived, the Mandali took Charmian and me at once to see Baba. We were unspeakably shocked at his appearance. For where we had 4 years before seen a man who was flushed with health, strong and vigorous, striding like a lion through the gardens, now we beheld him tanned and some hair graying, thin and fragile, with his bare legs and feet looking bloodless. We burst into tears. We tried to brave us out of our reaction. He tried to brave us out of our reaction by smiling brightly at us, saying, "Don't you think I look fine? Everybody says I look fine." But when we refused to be comforted, he appeared reminiscently serious and admitted, "It is the hardships of the new life. I have suffered much, but after July, I shall be stronger than ever." Baba then called in Francis Brabazan. "I've known you for ages," Baba remarked, "but you don't remember it, do you?" Francis admitted that he did not. Baba assured him, "You will come to know it is true." They then had a long talk about Sufism and Baba's plan for its future. Baba instructed Ivy to turn over her work in Australia to Francis and stated, "Listen carefully to what I say. The foremost point to remember is that God loves truth and honesty. If you are to work for God and me, you must be honest to God, to Baba, to others, and to yourselves. That means unless we experience what we preach and teach, we are not honest, not only of Sufism, but of life itself. To be an atheist, not to believe in God, to be bad even, is better than to be a hypocrite. So we must work on that basis. Is it clear? And I know what I say. I feel what I say. So what I have done is by authority of my divine knowledge. Now the time has arrived when there will be universal chaos, and I have to work soon. That is why, before I left India, I sent my intimate disciples all over India and Pakistan to prepare the ground for work, which has to begin from November 1952. From November, my fiery life will begin. And I know what that fiery life is going to be and how it is going to end. But I do not mind. I want work done. What I am planning is 5 different aspects of my work. About Sufism, he continued, this morning I drew this figure myself and dictated the wording to Adi Senior. Footnote. The Satyrian is a reference to a school of esoteric Zoroastrianism founded by Asar Kevan, known as the Ishraqiyun, illuminationist. Okay, we need more words. There's a chart.
In the middle and
Yeah.
Vedantism. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, the chart at the top says Vedantism. To the right is Sufism. Lower than that is broad Buddhism. And to the left, lower left, is the Satyrian Zoroastrianism. And then the upper left is Christian mysticism. And Baba's in the middle, big B. In India and America, Australia and Europe, I want this work done, and it is being prepared. But now with you, I want to decide about Sufism. Baba is in the center, and the work you have to do for Sufism must be done as I want it done. This is true Sufism, and real work will be done by my guidance.
Thank you, Rosalie. Eva, could you unmute and continue?
Sure. That is why I asked, are you prepared to do it 100%? And you promised, because for God, Baba and the universe, this work to be done is to be 100% with 100% mind, heart, and soul. That means if I say cut off my head, you have to do it. For Muslims, to touch wine is forbidden, so much so that if a drop of wine falls on the body, that part must be cut out. But Sufism is, as Hafiz says, if your master orders you to offer prayers on a carpet drenched with wine, you must do it. So anything I tell you to do for the work, you have to do. Now, about Dear Brabazon, there is much you have and are prepared to do for me, for Sufism and for God. How much and to what length, I know. That means you will do what I tell you at the cost of your life? Francis said he would. I'm happy, Baba continued. That is why I said that this is not the first time I have seen you. I want 4 or 5 pillars for the Sufi work in the West. Sufism, as understood by 99% of the people, is not real Sufism. The terms shaykh, murshid, murid are so lightly treated that real Sufism is lost sight of. As Rumi says, the only way to know Sufism is not by words or practice or discipline, but by becoming the dust of the feet of the master. Truth is hidden. Unless one has attained fana, annihilation, and acquired baka, abiding, one cannot lead others to perfection. And footnote, for full description of the meaning of fana and baka, refer to God Speaks, pages 140 to 144. So when we ourselves do not experience that state, and when we ask others to follow us, it means we are insulting Sufism. And all over the East and West, it is being done. By God's will, I intend to change the whole affair, overhaul the whole thing, because I love Sufism with all my heart. All these aspects belong to me, but Sufism is most dear to me. Therefore, I want to overhaul it. And for that, you must do as I tell you. We should not be vague on any points. We must be precise. Did you see my chart, the 10 states of God? I dictated all the points to Dr. Ghani. He worked on it, and now I find half of it has not been mentioned, included. Half has been just as I wanted. I have brought the manuscript here, and when I am free, I will go through the whole thing and make necessary changes. This book will be the first and last of its kind. Today, I will show you just the chart on which the book, is based. And when it is ready, I might hand it over to you to publish. And footnote. This book was to be God Speaks. It was published 3 years later in 1955. The book will be the Quran, Bible, Avesta of Baba, unique. Baba went on to explain the 3 types of conviction. Ivy and Francis openly confessed, we know nothing, we are zero. Baba stated, when you say you know nothing, there is hope of knowing. What I want is that Sufism, what I want is that Sufism in the East and West should be under my guidance. B, workers should do exactly as I tell them to. And C, workers should, first of all, thoroughly carry out for 9 months instructions that I will give them to attain light themselves. Then Sufism will be able to lead others to light and not just lead them in ignorance. That is why I am going to Europe and also staying in Algiers to contact 2 or 3 persons there whom I have not seen physically, but whom I know. Francis should be back in Australia before the 10th of July to start work there by that time. And if possible, return to the United States by November 15. If in the meantime, I order you to come to India in November. You should do so, because November is the month for my fiery life to begin. Blindly do as I tell you. You won't be following the blind. I know. Do as I tell you. And you, pointing to Ivy, begin doing from July 9th what I tell you now. Baba then gave both of them instructions for meditating nightly for an hour from 11:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. for 9 months from 10 July 1952, and ordered both to keep silence on the 10th also. Scroll down a bit, please. And a picture from Mayher Center, Myrtle Beach, May 1952. Adele, Phyllis, Mani, Sparky, Luke's, Ivy Deuce, Baba, Mayra, Delia, and Mayru.
The bunny
Where?
in Mehru's hands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, cute. At her first meeting in India in 1948, Ivy Deuce had asked Baba's guidance, as she had been appointed to lead the Sufi order after Rabia Martin died, and knew that she was not a realized soul. Baba assured her not to worry about her limitations. He would see to the welfare of the organization and restructure it with himself as its head. In Myrtle Beach, after Ivy, let's have another reader.
Hey, thank you, Eva. Marvin, could you unmute and continue?
At her first meeting in India in 1948, Ivy Deuce had asked for Baba's guidance, as she had been appointed to lead the Sufi order after Rabia Martin died, and knew that she was not a realized soul. Baba assured her not to worry about her limitations. He would see to the welfare of the organization and restructure it with himself as its head. In Myrtle Beach, after Ivy and Francis left the lagoon cabin on the 9th, Baba asked Adi to go out and try to think of a new name for this Sufi order. Adi went into a nearby cabin. He had not been sitting long with his eyes closed in concentration when the name Sufism Reoriented popped into his head. He went back and told Baba, who liked it very much, and Baba dictated a few more points about Sufism, which Adi wrote out. Malcolm Schloss was the first to have an interview with Baba on Saturday, 10 May 1952, at 7 a.m. Baba instructed him to go over the points for Sufism Reoriented that he had dictated to Adi. Phyllis Frederick had driven to Myrtle Beach from New York with Fred and Ella Winterfeld, Adele Woken, and Agnes Bourne, who had met Baba in 1932. Phyllis, 37, had always been interested in Eastern philosophy and was especially drawn to Ramakrishna of Calcutta. In May 1943, she received a postcard inviting her to hear Narina speak on Baba at the Hotel Martinique in New York City. She instantly recognized Narina and was invited to her home on East 67th Street, where she met Elizabeth and Nadine, and for the first time saw a photograph of Baba. She had had a vision of, quote, my Jesus, end quote, just 2 or 3 weeks before while attending a lecture on Ramakrishna, and now realized it was Meher Baba she had seen. It was all over, Phyllis later recalled. My heart was Baba's. I accepted him as the Christ from deep within. About the trip to Myrtle Beach, Phyllis recollected, as we got closer and closer to the center, it was like coming closer and closer to the center of the universe. It was like being on a spaceship, and after traveling 18 million light years, finally coming to the end of your journey. I felt like that. Fred slowed down the car just as we drove past the gate of Mayher Center, and a breeze of love came out of it and enveloped me. At the hotel, Elizabeth phoned, confirming that we were to come at 9 o'clock the next morning. Baba is waiting for you, she said. I almost dropped the phone. It seemed incredible to me. He's waiting for me? I had written to Kitty and found out Baba liked blue, so I was making a blue dress to see Baba in. Following Shaw drove Phyllis, Adele, and John Bass to the center on the morning of the 10th. They had been waiting 9 long years for this moment. Phyllis describes that first meeting. It was 9:30 a.m. when Delia, standing on the steps of the lagoon cabin, said, Shri Meher Baba, this is Phyllis Frederick. Footnote. Baba would spell Phyllis Frederick's name on the alphabet board as Filis, and so after this meeting, she adopted this spelling. How would Baba look? I did not know. I thought of Jesus, but at my first glimpse of Baba, the thought flashed in my head, he looks Egyptian. The long eyebrows, dark almond eyes, the golden skin. He embraced me, and my heart beat fast. He is mine. He is mine. He gestured to a chair beside him. Baba asked through Adi, how do I look? I said to Adi, because someone had misinformed me, we could not speak directly to Baba in the new life. He looks ill, I said. As soon as I said it, I felt, no, he looks beautiful. Eyes like black diamonds looked lovingly into mine. I felt my heart overflow with his love. He seemed so familiar, so intimate, so close. I heard about you from Norina, Elizabeth, Dawn, and Margaret, Baba stated. And I heard you from within. Do you love me? Yes, Baba. When I see such souls who love me, I feel very happy and strong. People like Phyllis are intimate ones. I love you because you love me so much. After 15 minutes, Baba called in Phyllis's, quote, twin, Adele Woken, 34. She has eyes like Babajan, Baba remarked, very large, gray-blue. He spelled out to them both. I heard so much about you both that I feel so happy that at last I have seen you. Are you not nervous? No, they said. I am overjoyed. Are you happy? Very happy. No more happy than I am in seeing you. When you know me, you will love me like a little child. I am a child, grown up. I love humor. I love to tease and work hard here and at various places while talking to you now. And when you love me with pure, simple love, there should be no barrier. Love, pure and simple. Then all doubts go away. Until then, mind gets tempted to doubt. Even if love is there, the mind goes on working, thinking this is right or wrong. But love does not bother. It loses its all in the beloved. Do you love Baba honestly? Yes, Baba, they replied. What can I do for you? Asked Adele. What more can you do for the beloved? I want love, nothing else. Love me and let God love us. This is what I want. When you love Baba, God will love you, and God's loving means everything. So Baba is very happy. One who really is the humblest of the humble is the greatest of the great. But it has to be all in honesty, in all truth. So let us love, love, love. All else is illusion. So Adele, what more can you do if you really love me? Do you love me? Yes. Do you know where that love is coming from? When you love Baba, God's love means everything. Phyllis later recollected, at that moment, I felt the circulation of love from his heart to our hearts back to his so strongly. Never again could I say, I love God. That love is his gift. To say it is mine would be more like a drop of dew saying, I am the sun when it sparkles. Phyllis and Adele then left to meet the women Mandali at the guest house. Both women had a second private interview with Baba the following morning at the Lagoon Cabin. He even sent Adi, who was reading the alphabet board, outside. Phyllis recalled her interview at 9:45 a.m. as follows. I was alone with God, and I felt very shy, but happy. I was overcome by his beauty. He spelled slowly on the board. Any questions? And I shook my head. Baba said, those who ask for nothing get everything. But of course, a deep question welled up within my heart. Why all that suffering? Why did I go through it all that I did? Through all that I did, Baba silently answered me. He took my hand. It was like holding a child's hand or a rose. The flesh was pure, almost transparent. I could feel his blood going through me, like a blood transfusion. And I felt his suffering. He took my wrist in his hand, and I felt a mystical sense of sharing his suffering. He sharing mine. It was a wordless answer. Then I silently said to him, Baba, I always want you for my master, all the way to the end. And Baba nodded in reply, I'll be with you to the very end. He called Adi back in the room with a clap. Again, he spoke of love for God as the only thing that is real and ended by saying, your love for me is so genuine, real, and pure that I am deeply touched. Do you know why you love me? Because I love you. Adele met Baba at 10 a.m. that morning. To her, Baba said, I know all you mean to say. I understand. Do not worry about any weaknesses which sometimes overpower you. Your love for me is so great it will wipe out your weaknesses. When the heart and mind are purified, one can see God. We can see him through purity. But above purity is love, which consumes all weaknesses. So if you love Baba as your master, as your father, as your brother, don't worry about anything else. Purity, impurity, all disappear when love is 100% there. So don't worry. Baba knows you and loves you, and in spite of everything, Baba will never leave you. Remember, is it clear? Yes, it's clear, Adele said. It is unbelievably clear, stated Baba. To me, you are like Mani. Whoa. Adele recounted later that she felt crestfallen because she thought Baba had said she was like money, which had to mean something negative. But Baba was, of course, referring to his sister Mani. Although Darwin and Jean Shaw had met Baba in 1934 in New York, this was the first meeting for their two teenage daughters, Renee, 17, and Leatrice, 18. The entire family, including Darwin's niece, Dolores, drove to Myrtle Beach, where they met Baba at 10 a.m. on the 10th in the Lagoon Cabin. Baba was wearing white pajama pants and a maroon silk robe. He embraced each member of the family. The girls were weeping. Baba said, God in heaven is happy you are here. Do you have any idea how happy I feel to see you? I underwent many hardships during the last 2 years, doing must work and poor work, sitting in seclusion. But today I feel so happy to see you, dear ones, you who have worked so hard for the center. Every inch of this place has Norina, Elizabeth, and the Shaws love in it. I saw your mother, Darwin's mother, and father on the 6th. I have had no sleep for the last 7 nights, yet I feel fresh because of the love of my dear ones, which makes me strong. God wants love, honest, pure love. So love is all that matters. We hope to serve you, Darwin said. I know, and you really do love. They, his children, also love me because Baba loves you all. It is my love that makes you love me. At one point, Baba asked the girls, would you do anything I asked? Both nodded yes. Yes, capitals, or just yes? Baba asked. Renee thought and said, or she thought, I am feeling so much love in my heart, I do not quite understand what Baba is saying. Leatrice decided, I'll say yes no matter what, and think about it later. Baba firmly responded. Both firmly responded, yes. I'm glad you both will obey me without hesitation, Baba stated, and to their father added, isn't that right, Darwin? They'll do what I ask without hesitation. Baba continued, would you jump in the lake? They said they would. With all the alligators? Yes. Good. I am in all. Snakes, deer, and everything. Baba again embraced each one and held Leatrice so she could gaze deep into his eyes. She vividly recollected the experience. He allowed me to look deep, and it was as if I were looking deep into the unknown. I kept looking without looking away, looking forever without coming to an end, looking far, far behind. As a result of looking into his eyes, I experienced Baba as the fathomless, colorless beauty of light. It was as if I were boring into Baba. I had always craved beauty in all forms, dancing, etc. And now Baba showed me real beauty so that I could see things in proper perspective. During his stay at the center, I longed for another chance to look into Baba's eyes. Baba had called everyone to the lagoon cabin the following morning at 10:15 a.m. And I noticed as people came out, they were happy, sparkling. We went in, and Baba held my father and was very smiling, happy, and bubbly. He was giving out bubbling happiness that day, so I joined the parade and felt what I only can describe as bubbles of happiness. When we were called in, I was watching as Baba allowed everyone to kiss his hand. I was not prepared for this, as I wanted to embrace Baba. He allowed me to embrace him, but I realized that in doing so, I had missed the moment to kiss his hand. I regretted that I was not able to appreciate the opportunity and wished I could have. A little later, without any ceremony, there was Baba's hand before me. I knew what to do then. Several times during their interview, Baba remarked, Jean loves me. Jean Shaw describes how they felt afterwards. The feeling of love overwhelmed us throughout the day and stayed with us like a light inside, warming us, engulfing us in waves of love divine. Our minds stilled, and we felt a peace and serenity out of this world. Nothing seemed to matter. All attractions of beach, surf, and town ceased to attract us. We felt kindly, loving, patient, and happy toward each other and all, and wondered at the significance of the personal messages received. We also reviewed the sweet, loving things said, read by Adi, as Baba pointed to the board. We had no questions to ask. We were just content to be with Baba. Nothing else mattered. It all seemed too good to be true. We felt like pinching ourselves to see if we were dreaming. We had waited so long, and it actually came to pass, that which we looked forward to, the meeting with Baba again, in person. We could hardly make ourselves believe that we really did see him and had an interview. One who missed witnessing the play of wine at the center was Norina, who suffered another heart attack on May 10th and was taken to a hospital. But Baba had established his wine shop through her, and as age noted, Norina played an extremely important part in his work. The tavern keeper was always with her, no matter where she was. Enid Korff, Margaret Scott, Elizabeth's nephew, Harry Harris Hartshorne, 34, of Wisconsin, and Consuelo Cedes had all private meetings with Baba on the morning of the 10th. Enid had not seen Baba for many years and had been interned in a concentration camp in Italy during World War II. You are one of the intimate ones, Baba assured her. After the 17th, I will find time to read your notes about her wartime experiences. Elizabeth had told Baba about Harry's chicken farm. I like sheep better than chickens, Baba remarked. Harry said he had many sheep and lambs also. Baba liked him and spelled out to him, Harry, I like humor and you have a good sense of humor. One must always try to be happy and make others happy. Otherwise, life will be a bore. Honest living is also very important, whereby we know we are not deceiving God, others, ourselves, and the world. All that is expected of us is this honesty and our attempt to make others happy and to be happy.
Thanks, Marvin. We'll stop here and
Okay.
continue on page 3061 next time.
All right.
Hi, folks, and we'll be beginning our meditation